services, safe havens for victims of gender-based violence. I think the South African Defence Force to protect our borders, conduct humanitarian and peace missions, and when called upon to assist the police in maintaining law and order. To ensure that the public officials who are guilty of corruption, corrupt conduct are speedily prosecuted and not suspended indefinitely on full pay and held personally liable to refund the state. I think this is very, very important because I know that many people that are caught for corruption and bribery and all of these things, they are suspended with full pay, and majority of the time they are found guilty. So our state-payers' money are being misused. Also, I think more especially the answer to whatever we're speaking here today in this room and all of our concerns with regarding the political parties is having leaders of integrity, having honest leaders, leaders that hate dishonest gain. And the ACDP is a party that stands on these things, where we've been here for 30 years and there has not been a scandal against us because our leaders are God-fearing. We fear God first, and we are accountable to God before men. And I think that is more important, to love people as much as we love God. So this is where the break comes in, with corruption and bribery. Because if you fear God and if you love God, you'll be honest. We will be honest to each other. We won't steal from our fellow brothers and sisters, which we are doing. And we look at the areas that I work. I know somebody spoke about Inanda. Inanda is my second home. I'm in Inanda all the time. Looking at all of these areas, Mauti, Inanda, all of these rural areas, we see how people suffer. We watch what our people go through with no proper houses, with no electricity, with no water, with lack of food. And we see the poverty our people are in. And how can we, if we love our people, steal from them? By mismanaging funds, by the funds that have been stolen. We are robbing our people. We are robbing the poor. We're making the poor more poor so that the leaders in that our leadership, current leadership, can line their pockets. Is that love? Is that what our country should be based on? Is that how our people should live? I know that our people should be free when apartheid was abolished. But are our people really free? They are not. Why? Because they've been stolen from. They've been lied to. They've been manipulated. And we give them, the government of the day, give them 350 rand. And is that all our people are worth? Aren't we worth more than that? If you look at the cost of living, if you look at our daily expenses that we incur every single day, a loaf of bread is over 20 some odd rand. Can we live with 350 rand? No. So it's time now that our people deserve better. The ACDP is your choice for a better future, for a future with hope. And we have the hope to offer because we have God.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Ms. Melissa Isaiah. Ms. Pops Thomas from the African, sorry, my acronym is guys. I apologize. I swear I had it right the first time around. I apologize. It's just slipped my mind. Welcome, Pops. Sorry about that.
No problem, Brian. We go a long way, so
yes. You understand. I appreciate that.
I totally do. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kamla Thomas, for those that do not know my correct name. And I'm proud to say it now that we have a Kamala Harris in the USA. I'm not like her, though. So yes, Kamla Thomas is my correct name. Pops Thomas is the name everybody knows me as, and I prefer that. I am the KZN Provincial Leader for Africa Restoration Alliance in KZN and also on the NEC of ARA. And I've been involved with a passionate heart with concerns in our country since the age of 15 years old, when I joined this province in getting to where we are today in 1984. And coming from there to now, I think that sitting here, I am so proud because I can truly say I am a woman of the soil. And honestly, groomed and developed by the conditions of our country from where we are to where we are now. And taking a rightful stand here today means that we know where we are going, where we came from, and what we want for the future of our children that we're going to leave behind when we are gone from this earth. And I think the reason why I chose to get involved and be involved in politics and join Africa Restoration Alliance, with my involvement in politics in my previous years, with my co-colleague here, I was in the ACDP for the last 20 years. And following everything is now putting in practical solutions what we have seen, what we have heard, what we have known from the time that our involvement within the landscape of South Africa, from the ears and mouths of the people on the ground. I've traveled the length and breadth of KZN and South Africa on its own. I've been to every province. I have seen things that I don't think a lot of people have seen. And that is why my passion has grown to make a difference in South Africa, and not just make a difference, be a difference and be an influencer in our policy development, in our government, in our making legislations and bills and all of that. We have a voice. And I think our current political system, as much as I don't like it, but it's what we have at the moment, and we need to make the best use of it. In saying that, I want to just say that I thank DDP for giving us this opportunity that we can sit here today and debate and talk about why we are where we are today. Why are we standing for what we stand today? And I think that is very important and crucial, because the mindset of the people on the ground is like, they're fed up. They're literally fed up about where we are as a country. And you talk to anyone and they say, no, why be involved? Why go vote? Why do this? Why do that? And I want to personally say, this is why. It's because we are here because we want to do the difference. We want to not just talk, but make something out of what we talk, put something into place that benefits the people of our country. And our topic today is about health, safety, and crime. And, coming from the healthcare society, I've been a nurse before. I definitely know what our healthcare system is all about, and very, very passionate. ARA currently at the moment is we have an investigation group that is involved in going around to the different hospitals and investigating a lot of issues that has been brought up by the people in the ground concerning the hospital, the care in the hospital, the deaths that are happening in the hospital. And more especially, people are afraid to go to a hospital. Do you know that? People are just so afraid they'd rather just die at home. Because they say if they go to the hospital, they're going to die anyway. So we put out a team of people who are apolitical, who are people from the community, people that are involved in crime and statistics, to go into the hospitals undercover and investigate what is going on from the top to the bottom in terms of checking on everything and then coming together. And we are going to put this out soon enough. But as we find issues and problems, we are resolving it with the committee of the hospitals, especially RK Khan Hospital and Gandhi Hospital, because those were the two hospitals that brought to our attention a lot of issues. And I must thank God that we are part and parcel with the Khoisan group, and Queen Brenda from the Khoisan has joined and come alongside us to help us move in a way that we can see to the people with what we need. So they have an investigation group as well. And our chief paramount chief, which is Richard, is part of this investigation group, and he's heading it. So ARA is not just about talk, we are about doing. And one of the things that in the hospital line, with our healthcare policy, let me just tell you now, see, I don't want to talk about material things. These are just things that every election we do. We write manifestos, we put it out, we say it there because that is the norm of elections. And coming from every time of elections, you find election after election, manifestos are done. in all our experience of knowing what goes on in elections, we have put together a practical solution for South Africans. And our healthcare system is really about putting South Africa's healthcare first. Now, if you notice about our logo, it's ARA-SA first. And there's a reason behind that. It's because we have prioritized South Africa as our main object, South Africans first. And we want to make sure that our South African citizens are the priority of everything that we do. Every policy, every decision we make, we will look into making sure that our SA citizens are the top and receive the best.
Yes, sorry, we'll come back to you, I
Yes.
promise. The initial 3 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
Thank
A round of applause for you, Pops. Eloise Briggerman, who's just recently graduated from a leadership and civic leadership and politics, something of that nature from
Future Elect.
Future Elect. A round of applause for you and your candidacy for BOSA.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting us here today. Thank you, DDP, for giving us this platform. As you know, BOSA, Build One South Africa, is a new party to the elections. However, Mmusi Maimane, the head and the leader and the president of BOSA, Build One South Africa, is far from new to politics. A much loved, admired, and respected politician of many, many years. So we are here to literally build one South Africa. Our job manifesto is to put a job in every home. To answer the question, or to refer to the statement the gentleman had about politicians sitting here like it's an interview to be employed and getting the job, I'd like to just put out a statement that when Mmusi set out his protocol of selecting candidates such as myself, he was very specific. They had to be endorsed by the community, which meant you needed to be someone who's invested in your community. So myself, who has multiple businesses and an NPO for the last decade, I have uplifted, skilled, employed multiple levels of citizens in this society, and I'm tremendously invested in South Africa. So that would then bring your narrative to the values of the people that are running for candidacy for these elections. Just to answer a few questions regarding what BOSA has to put on the table regarding the healthcare system, we'd like to introduce the National Health Insurance Scheme. So all households and individuals are required to obtain a health insurance. The cover would allow a household to access any private or public primary health care. We would also roll out a 24-hour clinics in all communities. We all know that at the moment, the healthcare system on all its platforms receives about 220 billion rand. That should be enough to provide a brilliant healthcare to the public. But with corruption and mismanagement, it just falls the wayside. So people like myself have had enough, and we've put our hand up to be part of the solution and to put solutions on the table. And as our colleague mentioned, we need people with values. So that is why the selection process of candidates is to have good values and people invested in their communities. Because if you truly love your community, you will not be part of corruption, and you will want to be part of the solution. We also know with crime, the police force are very stretched and poor funded. And so working towards our job in every home, we want to put the public sector and private sector together so that communities will then be incentivized to provide public services. So they would be part of the policing solution. They would be part of the service delivery in the community. So if you are living in your community and your water pipe breaks, you will make sure that it will be fixed, and it will be fixed timelessly, and that there's no corruption with regards to payments, because you want your water to be working as well. So those are just some of the aspects that BOSA puts on the table, because we truly want to build our nation. And just to throw in a little bit of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. I think we've been through a lot of hell at the moment. So insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Let's give new parties a chance and taste a little bit of heaven. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eloise. So very concise, straight to the point. We appreciate that. Mhlekazi Putsigazu, Putsimpiwe Gazu from the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. I know that I've hijacked you in some respect, but ngicela ukuthi mhlambe usibekele obala ukuthi mhlambe as your MK party, what are some of the offerings enibona mhlambe that you could be able to contribute in the health, safety and security sector of this country? If we could ask our colleagues to put it off, you have to press and hold there just so that the data doesn't interfere with other mics. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chair, and greetings to everyone. As said, my name is Simpiwe Gazu from Umkhonto weSizwe Party. I have my colleague there, my commander Rohit. So as Umkhonto weSizwe Party, we know yet that we haven't had the manifesto, but we believe that the manifesto comes from our heart, as our commander said, that the manifesto must come from the people, not that from top down to people. The people must come with the manifesto, what they want the parties to do for them. So we very much pray that God helps us and our ancestors assist us on our commitment to fulfill what the people of South Africa wants. Straight to the point, we have 2 points here, the healthcare and the security. As Umkhonto weSizwe about the health, we believe that the qualified people must be positioned in the strategic positions.
For that, the police were just reassuring us about the safety and security of this forum. No, I'm joking.
Thank you. The qualified personnel must be positioned in the strategic positions, not that everyone must be put because maybe political connection or what, you know. As well, the nurses, the staff must be trained within the health facilities. Facilities. Build more hospitals and the clinic for the people, because you know some of the problems you find that there is a lot of population in that area, but there is few hospitals, there is few clinics. So we need to put more to build more of hospitals, clinic, and so forth. Make sure that the staff that is there is well trained. I mean, the doctors, of course, they are trained, especially the nurses, because they deal with people, I mean, on a daily basis. They must know how to take care of the people, all those things. They must be trained on those things. But we mostly believe that the healthcare must start at home. You know, we find that at homes, we are not employed. Maybe we are sitting together, the space is too small. That means we must start there. We need a decent places to stay. I mean, the houses and all those things. So we need proper food at homes just to improve the health systems as well. So about the security, we saw that most of our, like I would say the stations where our policies work, there's no enough resources. So we need to put more resources for the so that we improve the security, proper housing for our people, so that they are not exposed to crime and all those things. Proper jobs to people that can also increase the safety, I mean, the security of the people, because the more they are not employed, the more they commit to crimes, all those things. I think on my side, that is all I can mention for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simpiwe Gazu. Do you have a sense of when your manifesto launch will be?
Sorry?
Do you have an idea of when you'll be launching a manifesto?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I still
Okay.
on preparation.
No problem. Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask for 3 hands if there are any questions. Okay, so we already have our 3 hands. Unfortunately, they're all male. But we'll take them and then we'll direct them. If you have a specific question to a specific political party, please mention that. Or if it's a general for all political parties to respond to, please also let us know. Yeah, I'll start with Wena Babmtagan. Guys, COVID still exists, eh?
Good morning, Sanbonani.
Yeah.
Umdakane lokhulumayo. Angizukuba nambuzo mina, Brian. I did write some things down, but I can see they're not gonna help after I've heard what they were saying. Guys, I'm gonna tell you one thing. You're all singing the same song for the past 30 years, and we're tired of it. There are new political parties, there's nothing they can do. Like the Chinese say, if you open windows for fresh air, flies do come in as well. This is what is happening in South Africa currently. This is what is happening currently. Same promises, same stories every day. We've got I don't know how to say. It's happening here.
Sabotage.
Corrupt safety and security, collapsing healthcare systems. If you go to public hospitals, go to public clinics. So, no, I can tell you one thing, as you are telling us what you are telling here. After the elections, that is what you're doing. So I'm not gonna say more. If you can just correct your ethics and your morals and talk. But for now, I'm not seeing any change. I won't lie to you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that input. I think I'll help you craft it into a question. What are the internal mechanisms that you have for accountability post the election? How can citizens rely on your leadership and your party to continue to be visible post the election? Whether you get 2 seats, 3 seats in parliament, or you even get to lead the government, how can you promise and ensure that you're going to do the work that's necessary when you have been entrusted with power, that you do the work that you've undertaken to do, even at a manifesto level? Mohale?
Brian.
Thank
you so much, Brian. I won't blow into the mic. No, thank you so much, Brian. Hey, I've got quite a lot here. I'll start with the ACDP. Firstly, ACDP, I mean, who would want a biased party to come and rule South Africa? We're in a democratic state. The moment you say in the name of Jesus, I'm a Muslim, I'm not a Christian. So which means as Christians and Hindus and other Shembes, we are scattered out of your manifesto or of your ruling. That's one. Number 2, I see you are very much, you speak of humanity and whatsoever that you spoke on, but you are very much in support of Israel as part of your manifesto that I can read. It says that you will re-establish full diplomatic relations with the Israel and South African embassy to Jerusalem as well. Yeah, it's da-da-da-da-da, but it's there. You are very much in full support of the Israelis, which means you are very happy that they are killing innocent kids in Palestine. And with that being said as well, I mean, you spoke of what the other parties are doing, but you could not articulate on what you have done. If you are a Christian and Christian people are not voting for you, which means there's a problem because you are a Christian party. With ARA, I'm very disappointed. I honestly had nothing. I have nothing. You spoke up until your time was up, but there's really nothing you have said. And with Bossa, I mean, Mmusi Maimane was once upon a time the leader of DA. He could not provide a job in every home. Not in every home, he could not provide jobs in the Western Cape. How will he provide now with a new party? I mean, DA is the second biggest party in South Africa currently. If you could not do it with that big party, with that influence, why would he do it with a newborn baby? You know, with the MK as well, I'm disappointed, guys. I am disappointed. I think it was very clear that you stayed on your manifesto. For you to have even accepted the invitation without launching your manifesto, it's a problem because you are talking on what you personally want to change. That's not what your manifesto says. Now, to all the parties, tell what is it that you're going to do different? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, no, carry on, Jess. Okay. Yes, Jess.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I think it's the same old story for me. So what I hear from the people on the panel, if I brought community members from Ispingo or Umlazi, they would actually explain the state of, because what you did is explain the state of the nation, the condition, people are suffering. But if you bring people from Ispingo, Umlazi, they would actually explain better than what you have done. And that's what we hear from political parties. You have mastered the art of explaining the problems in South Africa, but you don't offer any solution. And I ask the question, to what extent do what you have written on the paper, what you call the manifestos and the policies, sways the vote of people to your benefit? So I was in Ispingo, thanks to DDP, I was facilitating a dialogue in Ispingo. And we found ourselves discussing manifestos. And political parties, especially the new ones, you are in trouble because the people, they understand the problem. But with the current government, they're able to say, they are giving us a 350. They have done it. So forget about the other stuff. So it's what Brian said, better the devil that you know than the devil you do not know. So I think I would like to offer a suggestion. I think what you should begin to do, take your manifestos, put them in your wardrobes, wherever you put them, go on the ground and start working. Adopt a hospital and start doing something so that when people see that you are doing something, you can come here and say, this is what we have done. Then people can also say, at least BOSA has done A, B, C, D for us. Because with the ANC, the people have a reference. They can say, I got a 350 last month. And the ruling party is cruising nicely because in as much as they haven't done certain things, but there are certain things that they have done. And as for you guys, it's promises. And people have been promised for 30 years and they are tired. So you need to go. If I ask a question, load shedding, how many of you have done a research by show of hand? You have done a research and you have said you have discovered the problem and you have the solution. Anyone? You have done a research. Is there any document that you can refer us to that we can look at and say, these are the experts that you consulted, this is the problem, and this is the solution?
So they'll answer so that it doesn't become a discussion between you and them.
So yes. And on crime, safety and stuff, is there any research that you have done and say, this is the problem, this is the solution? Can you refer us to that document and the experts, yes, as you respond, and to many other problems?
100%. Thank you very much, Joyce. A round of applause to the. So unfortunately, we're in a position in time where, especially when you talk about touchy subjects like this, it gets personal for people because these are circumstances that they're confronting on a daily basis. And so we hope that you take it in that vein. The accusation, for instance, that you might be dealing with things surface level might not come from you having dealt with that things surface level. So maybe be a bit more specific about the interventions that you've undertaken at this point, knowing that some of you are new, knowing that some of you are in opposition, what's some of the wins that you can point to that people that can then say, these are the things that you've been able to do. It's difficult for the MK because in as much as you might not have launched your manifesto, you've already started making a showing in municipal by-elections. What ticket are you campaigning on when you go and make those campaigns if you don't have a manifesto yet? Isibonela ubaba uNqamalala kuphela noma khona a bigger picture that we're voting for when it comes to that. Can I give you an opportunity to just digest that a bit by inviting our speaker, because he has to leave, unfortunately. At Gqeberha, they don't have, the Eastern Cape and Durban have a very close geographical link, but unfortunately we don't have a very good transport system between each other. The roads are bad and the flights are few. So, so we have a challenge in that respect. He's going to have to leave us soon, but I'd like to introduce him formally to the stage. Dr. Ongama Mtemka, who is a passionate critical thinker, writer, speaker, based at the National Mandela University in Gqeberha, South Africa. He combines his passion for politics and development with a strong analytical flair to offer insights for policymakers and investors to achieve sustainable growth in the African continent. Among his academic and professional qualifications, he holds a PhD in political studies and a certificate in strategic management from the NMU and Rhodes Business School, respectively. I hope I read the right bio. And so let's welcome him with a round of applause, please. At the podium, yes, go for it. Yes, that's you. That's all you. That's all you.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the distinguished political parties, yourselves, the honorable stakeholders that play a crucial role in KZN, and obviously our hosts. Thank you so much, Doc, and your colleagues, SPA, and everyone for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here. So I think that South Africa is in an interesting period at the moment. First, we regard any country that gets to that stage where election outcomes are no longer certain as having significantly democratized. I don't know how many of us saw the results of the Russian election recently, you know, where President Putin wins by an 83%. Now, if you asked South Africans at any given time before this year's election who they thought was going to win, it was clear the ANC was going to win. This was, except for the Western Cape. Okay, now it's uncertain. So that uncertain, we first say to business people, I was speaking to some of them last week, so-called WMC, to say, you know what, this is not the same uncertainty as you have in ordinary English. Because when we say uncertain, we're not saying a bad thing for a democracy. We're saying uncertain, and therefore this is good. Why? Because it's proven in political science literature that as soon as election outcomes become uncertain, whoever gets to be the incumbent after a particular election focuses on what is called regime performance, focuses on making sure, how do we perform when we are in power so that the people can keep us? Okay, so I wanted to say, so it's an exciting time indeed. The key issues around healthcare, safety and security, we see them are big in the country. I mean, KZN at the moment is making news for an interesting contribution to the debate about what to do with crime. Because you have a general who comes from a SWAT background, special forces background. And it seems to be that his approach is, we're going to go to war with criminals and we're going to kill them. And this is what's happening. Every day you wake up, you see on Twitter stories about criminals that have been taken down in a shootout with the police. That's the important part for me is what this is doing to the national conversation. Because all of a sudden, like we saw with Rodrigo Duterte in Manila, in Philippines, people are beginning to like what's happening in KZN because they feel that the state, which has been put under pressure by criminals, compromised significantly by criminals, is all of a sudden having a site in the country where it's actually taking the fight to criminals. But these are extrajudicial killings. Now, it's interesting, it seems to me that once the state appears to be losing ground and then authoritarian elements rise, where people are not taken through the courts in order to be, tried and convicted and all of those things, the people who witnessed how the state was failing to deal with the situation, all of a sudden appreciate the rise of autocratic tendencies. Can we see this? So I'm saying the political context and the national context in which we are having debate, we're having an election and we're asking these parties, what are you going to do about it? Is that the reality on the ground is that people are beginning to fall in love with authoritarianism, because authoritarianism is showing that criminals can be dealt with. And so it's an interesting time. This Rodrigo Duterte guy, he became successful in Manila in killing the criminals, the gangs. He said to the people, go shoot and kill. Anyway, I need to get to the business of what I'm here about, but this is important context. So he goes and succeeds in Manila, cleans up the criminals, they flee. And then he gets voted to become the president of the Philippines. And when he got there, he did the same thing. Now, last week, I had a chat because this question came around the scorpions. I'm having a chat because remember now, I'm also among the people who have now tempted very strongly to fall in love with what's happening in KZN. Sad. I'm also, a person who is strong in my faith. Okay. So, but I'm here saying the guy in KZN needs to be prayed for so that he doesn't get killed himself, the leader of the police, because of the fight that is taken to the gangs here. Okay. But so I'm having a conversation with the person who, okay, let me not say much, but anyway, he knows a lot about the scorpions. So he says to me, look, I hear what you say about General Mkhwanazi and Rodrigo Duterte in the Philippines, but there's a way that is constitutional democratic that can be done to deal with these criminals. He says to me, when we started in 1994, it was like this. The crime, the gangs, and all of these guys that had, assumed themselves to be larger than the policing force. He says these guys were there, the taxi bosses, that were linked with the criminal, there were taxi fights everywhere, in Mthatha, in Gqeberha, gangs, and he said that we did this thing as the Scorpions. We said, okay, we must have Hollywood-style arrests and prosecutions with these guys. And he said, we picked them up in Mthatha, we picked them up in New Brighton, and it was big news in the country. And he says, soon, and we made sure we arrest the kingpins. And he says, what you say it seems to be, it can only be achieved through these means, can actually be achieved through democratic means. Okay, and then lastly, in terms of general comments before I come into the parties, the issue as far as healthcare is concerned, we know that both in healthcare and education, South Africa doesn't spend, so our failure is not a budget allocation failure per se, because our expenditure allocations have been comparable with the best in the world, except that there's incompetence in the execution of capital projects and also incompetence in managing operations, and then huge corruption. Now, when it comes to corruption, let us give political parties a break. We live with the corrupt. On social media, we commend the corrupt when they flaunt their wealth and expensive holidays and expensive clothes and all of those things. And you find that in communities, if you go to communities, you will find that those who live by government tenders and all of those are known. Now, let me come to the next part of my presentation, some of the approaches of political parties when it comes to healthcare, crime, and others. What I think I've noticed in South Africa at the moment is because the election is high stakes, I have seen that there has been less emphasis on a number of issues. I mean, if you take the major parties have bbeen known in elections to go with their big policy issues. What I observe about this election is that the battle is being fought on the leadership character front. And the reason this is the case is in part because that's where the big parties have faced the most of their challenges around the quality and the character of leaders that they have put into the public domain. So it's no wonder that they see that they have to defend themselves along those lines, and then the newcomers are coming and are pushing strongly around this idea of new caliber of leaders. And this is understandable because if you look at, for example, South Africa used to have a closed party list system. Now, as a result of electoral reforms, as a result of impressions of electoral reforms, as my colleague Stan Bette reminded us recently, what was done behind the scenes, such as the calculation of votes, in terms of the share of National Assembly votes, the 200 that came from national ballots and then provincial to national. So we never used to see who is on the list for those, unlike in local government election, where we would see in a local government election, we have a closed party list, which is based on PR allocation of seats, but we also had, we knew in which ward, who represented which party in which ward. So that was an open list. So we had a combination. Now, the focus on who the parties have on their list is a sign of the times that South Africans have become concerned about leadership, character, and quality, and therefore parties in some sense are responding to what they see. And so when I was reading the manifestos of the big parties, and when I say big parties, I mean the top three, but also while yourselves are sitting here, I took a glimpse to those of you with PA has loaded their manifestos online. And interestingly, BUSA has got 4 references to healthcare in its manifesto. And in all instances, I think what you did for the party today, maybe somebody should phone Maimane, is to actually add more than what is actually there in the manifesto. But the point is that there's little references to proper detail about what will be done with infrastructure. Because infrastructure is crippling. To your defense, MKP, you did mention about the need to build more facilities. I think 1 or 2 others of you, because the healthcare, we cannot assume that the total the existing range of healthcare facilities from the primary healthcare to tertiary healthcare are enough for the population. Yes, indeed. People who do the ratios would say, no, South Africa has got enough, but also the issue is the ratio of professionals, medical professionals to the population, which is a challenge, especially in rural areas. But parties are silent on how many, and in fact, even the EFF, which in its previous, I was not mentioning names of parties, some of them, for example, would even in the previous manifestos, they would go to the extent of saying, you people of OR Tambo, we are going to build two additional hospitals for you in their coming term, or 2 more clinics. But there seems to me that in this particular election, there's been a reduction of those references and in favor of this rhetoric around leadership, potential, and character, and little is said about what facilities are going to be built where. And when we truly implement this thing of regional-based representation to the national and provinces, we have to have candidates campaign by saying, vote for my party because in this particular region, in this province, this is how many hospitals we're going to build. This is in those other provinces, the candidates that are campaigning there, they should be mentioning how many hospitals, how many primary healthcare facilities they're going to build, how much capacitation that they're going to have, because not only is their infrastructure poor, also when it comes to the stocking of the right medicines in hospital facilities and in clinics, it's poor. And remember that people depend on these healthcare facilities because when you go to the private ones, sometimes you just pay for consultation and then you must go from there to a pharmacy to go pay extra but in previously in state clinics and hospitals, you could go and get allocations of medication with your doctoral visitation. It has become a reality in rural areas that if you want help, you don't go to a state hospital. So what happens is that black tax becomes a factor, or let me say, private additional tax by private citizens becomes a factor, because now their counterparts in rural areas must be sent money, and this is personal experience, must be sent money so that they can go to a doctor where they are likely going to get help, a surgery that's based in a rural town. So you have to pay for transport to transport your your sick person to hospital in order for them, to be attended to in hospital, and then also pay for the consultation. So the cost of living for rural citizens has become a lot higher. Even more when you consider the fact that it tends to be the elderly, and South Africa's migrant labor system. The elderly will be working in urban centers, and when they retire, they want to go back to the villages. And when they get there, the cost of living is high. Hospitals are too far, and all of those things. Now, even if I'm no longer here, I'm not here. Here are key issues that political parties must think about. One, South Africa is in a mess because the processes of selecting leaders for party office are captured, to disappoint you, generally not by big business per se, but by party elites who want to make sure that. So somebody asked the question, I think it was used as it was you, sir, who asked who were saying the point that political parties take somebody who fails or somebody else who fails here at the local government level, and then that person is taken and and gets made to be a premier candidate, right? And why does this happen? This happened because the internal democracy within political parties is held captive by party elites. Party elites use the masses as voting fodder to express their will. What is expressing their will? That their pals get chosen in order to get party office and then get office in government. Now, that happens in the big parties as it does to, the smaller parties, it's the party elites anyway who have to make the choice about who goes where. So we give them, because it's a founding year, right? But in the next, as soon as they start the mass democratic, internal democratic processes, then the challenges begin. So I'm saying political parties must be held a lot more responsible and accountable for malfeasance, because they make themselves to be gateway of elite interests, which elites do not care about whether you have capability to lead generally. Okay, all that matters is, are you singing my same song, the song that I'm singing going to the party conference? Okay, then you are fit to become a leader. Once those people get into provincial legislatures and national parliament, what they then do is that I see my transport is checking on me. What they then do is to make sure is to try and say you are voting for order. Whether or not something is right doesn't matter. If you have gotten into office as a result of a PAL that sits somewhere where your constituency is not even a factor, those people want the voting fodder that allows them to extract money from the system, not people who are going to say, hey, but I like what is happening here that has been proposed by others because it helps us to get healthcare right. It helps us to get policing right. So that's the first problem. And then also, we need collectively, even as the stakeholders that are here, we need this, approach of not just engaging these political organizations ahead of elections, but after elections, because elections, we are vibrant, right? We are engaging them. They go and they listen, they talk, but after the vote, much of the implementation happens there, where we need to ensure that we hold them accountable. Now, government, our systems in South Africa, I mean, I've said all I can say concerning what political parties can do, but also our system in South Africa is participatory democracy written in our constitution. How many of us have been there when the eThekwini municipality is going out and has got budget and IDP consultation sessions? Don't raise your hand. Okay. I didn't want to embarrass people because it's only going to be few, I can guarantee it. Even among civil society organizations, we don't go. When the eThekwini municipality, now is the time, even now, they should be out doing consultations on the budget. And then we complain. This is the issue with democracy, is that those who participate are very few, but the principle is tacit consent. You don't participate, you give consent. Okay, and then also provincial and national government, every bill that is in consideration has got to go out on a public participation process. All that happens is that politicians take their branch members and mobilize them to go and attend a public participation meeting. And the branch members have got a mandate. Chief, when they are voting, you must raise your hand. They don't care whether or not this thing is beneficial for us. So the mobilized position is the one that's going to hold, regardless of whether or not. So colleagues, our country, let me land on this note. We have outsourced our responsibility to politicians for a long time. What happens when communities are transforming from a conflict to a democracy is what is called demobilization. When we take the armies, those that were involved, whether it's the professional armies or the community groups that were fighting, we say, comrades, please, thank you now. We're no longer fighting. Go home, let us no longer, if you had arms, bring the arms back.
we're no longer gonna fight. What we did, so while that is right, and we did it fairly effectively in South Africa, the proliferation of weapons in our streets says it was not perfect at all, but we did it fairly effectively because there wasn't an outbreak of war that threatens the state like significantly. Yes, there are armed groups that threaten the state, but what we demobilized is also our active citizenship, which should have never been among the things that we demobilize as a country. Now, we've gotten to that stage where the cost of it is borne by us. I don't know how things are in eThekwini, but if you buy electricity, let's say for R1, guaranteed you're gonna get 40 cents. Guaranteed. Only about 12 years ago, if you bought electricity for R1, you got 100 units. You got equivalent, your rent value was equivalent to the units that you got. Now it has become, that gap has become so wide. And I was asking, is it wise to even have electricity instead of completely getting solar? Finance that, and then that's just pay, because I mean, if you're a household of 4, I mean, we have 4 in our household, and one time I paid electricity for about $3,000. One time paid, okay, monthly it's about 1,500 that I spent, and I said, no, man, it cannot be like this. And then we also know the cost of corruption. How poor the services are, how monies get allocated, and then the services never get delivered. So yes, political parties, we can hear you write home about how your new leaders are really great, but you have to apply yourselves to the practical realities and tell us about what doesn't work in what is there and how you are going to change it. Because indeed, we have had infrastructure allocations. How will you save the money? How is the money now being lost that we are spending? How is it being lost? Some things work, by the way. There are some things that work. In Bizana, one of my relatives needed to come and do a knee operation, and they knew that if they come to eThekwini, it's going to be sorted. And indeed it was. Okay, but both knees had to be operated. One knee was operated, and then in the next year, another knee was operated. Now, so some services work. We've seen people have eye operations. We've seen, so it's not when you come as an opposition party and you say all is doom and gloom, then I know that you have not applied your mind, because there are some things that work. So where we need you to with courage and integrity is to say, this is what is not working, and this is our strategy for saving it. Last word, Haile Selassie is said to have said throughout history, it has been the inaction of those who should have acted, the indifference of those who should have known better, and the silence of the voice of justice when it mattered most that made it possible for evil to triumph. So if you are silent when you should be speaking, you are contributing to the triumphing of evil. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Dr. Mtimka, please. We do apologize and are very sad to see you leave before the session is over. But as I indicated, it's a logistical challenge. Perhaps one of these political parties can offer a solution, especially to the cost of flights themselves. Yeah, it's 3,000 rands to get to Joburg sometimes, one way. But yeah, I guess we appreciate and we're thankful for your time. We hope to see you soon. Take care, travel safe. All right. Back to the political parties, the ACDP, ARA, BOSA, and the MK. Reflections from what the doctor has mentioned, but also the questions that you had directed to you in the previous round of hands. Thank you. You may start, Melissa, yeah? Can bring the mic closer to you? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's on, it's on. You just switched it off now. You just switched it off. There we go.
Just responding to what you have said that, you know, I've been in the ACDP for almost 10 years now. In fact, Pops recruited me into the ACDP. And she would bear witness to this, that I contested elections 2016 as for my ward. I didn't win. I contested 2021. I didn't win. But 2016, after I contested the elections, and I didn't win my ward. And then I was more determined to do more than I've ever done, even, you know, during the elections. So I've been a community activist long before I went into politics. I've been serving my community with love, with humility and integrity. I as a Indian woman, I go to all of the rural areas alone in my little car. My car is packed to capacity. Going into these areas, and sometimes when my husband is with me and he comes with me, he panics because I go up hills and all of that with my little car, making sure that the community is taken care of. So whether I was in politics or not, I would still do the same because that is my responsibility from God to the people. So the ACDP has been serving the people for many, 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 many years. And we do it with love. I've been taking food parcels, clothes, and empowering women, not only giving them stuff to feed them for the week or the month or whatever. I've been empowering them so that they can go and make money for themselves and they can support their families. Also with the religions. In my branch, I'm from the Phoenix, I have a branch in Phoenix, the ACDP branch. I have people from all religions that are members of my branch that support the ACDP and that assist me in all of my projects that I do. I do a lot of outreaches, feeding, and all of these things, and they assist me in that. So, so my members are all different religions, and what the ACDP has done, we fought for the opening of the religious organizations during the after the COVID-19, when all of the schools were closed and religious organizations could not have their services. We didn't only fight for the Christians, but we fought for all of the religions. And if you notice in the schools, there are Muslims there, they have these Muslim classes, and we have the Hindus that have the Hindu classes as well. So the ACDP don't only fight for the Christians, because we believe in freedom of religion. The ACDP stands for Christian Principles, Freedom of Religion, a free market economy with a social conscience for family values, community empowerment, and human rights in a federal system. So we're not only fighting for the Christians, but we're fighting for the whole of South Africa, the community at large, and I can bear witness to that.
Sorry,
so-
Melissa. So this is my portion of disruption, but I'm gonna help you to direct some of the inputs that you make. So what projects have you undertaken in respect of healthcare, safety and security, if any, that you're familiar with? So you talked about food parcels. Are there any other works that you've done as the ACDP member or that you know of the political party itself engaging in around those specific subject matters?
I run a Mighty Overcomers Cancer Support Group where we offer support and counseling to people that have cancer, that have lost loved ones due to cancer. I have the Gathering of the Deborahs where we empower female pastors and leaders. We have the Women of Destiny group in our areas that we work with underprivileged, abused women. We offer counseling.
Yeah.
Sorry,
let me. So I'm going to do this with everyone. Don't worry. I'm to be fair. So what's the cancer support groups? What are some of the things that's important for us to undertake? In KZN, we had a crisis a couple of years back where we didn't have enough oncology specialists, for instance. What are some of the suggestions that are coming out for the ACDP as you run that cancer support group, for instance? Are there any suggestions and policy suggestions that the ACDP has come up with in respect of some of the crises that we've confronted in cancer, for instance?
I know that with the province, our MPL, our Honorable Mangele, we have written to the different departments. The health department, we've written even to the police. I have some of it with me. Asking them, we wrote to the head, asking them or suggesting to them that we've had certain solutions that we would like to be implemented. And looking at the healthcare, when we look back at what we've written back then, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we had Cuban specialists that were brought into South Africa, and we spent millions, if not, I think billions with regard to that. And our question was, why weren't our people in South Africa taken care of? We have specialists in South Africa that are living overseas because of the conditions that they're working in and because of the treatment. They have no jobs in South Africa. Why were we bringing in Cuban doctors when we could use our own people here in South Africa?
Yeah, and a follow-up question. For the ACDP and its leader, Reverend Mishwe, for instance, around the COVID-19 times, there was a significant rejection of the vaccination and that process. Talk to us about what you feel the government's role ought to be in times of crisis as it relates to a scare such as the one that's related to healthcare. So that was a health pandemic, but what ought to have been South Africa's role in trying to fix what we saw? Because Reverend, for instance, wasn't about the whole blanket vaccination process that happened. You wanted to insist on choice, but also ultimately there was a sense that you're not certain about the veracity of the quality of the vaccine itself, because there was talk about 666, but that's another thing. But yeah.
Okay, with regards to the COVID-19 vaccine that we opposed it to be forced on us because we know we have human rights and our human rights need to be enforced as well. The ACDP has fought many cases where the COVID vaccines have affected lives that people were even gone to a stage of cabbage, crippled and cabbage, and it affected them negatively. So we've taken on those cases and we won it. And we want those cases. So those are the victory that we'll be fighting for our people, that to ensure that our people are well taken care of. Your safety, our people's safety and security for us is very important. For those of you all that don't know, the ACDP has been instrumental even in, we had a bill passed. We've made history in Parliament. Our Honorable Sherilyn Dudley, a few years ago, she had the bill passed where fathers can have paternal leave 10 days when their child is born.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that as a father. A round of applause. No, genuinely. Just another follow-up around safety and security. There's a question related to the sort of geopolitical dynamics that we have globally at the moment. Israel and Palestine are currently at war with each other. The general consensus amongst activists and people who are human rights believers is that currently Israel seems to be in a wrongful position in this instance. As Mohale has mentioned, part of your manifesto is strongly affirming the right of Israel to exist, which I think no one is in disagreement with. But ultimately, are you willing as a political party to call what is happening against Palestine specifically a human rights abuse against the Palestinians that exist in that space? Because it speaks also to domestic policy around safety and security for certain communities and constituencies.
I'm at liberty to speak on that, on the Israel issue. I think our president and our deputy president would be the ones that can speak on that. But also we must take into cognizance that Israel they are also victims. You look at Hamas, what Hamas is doing with our children and our women in Israel, and that should not have happened. So we want peace. I think for me personally, I would advocate for peace. And on the Israel issue, our deputy president or our president of the Reverend Kenneth Meshu can enlighten you more on that.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for Melissa. Again, colleagues, I'll give you, the first couple of minutes, and then if I see it not going the direction at which the people are asking specifically, I will redirect, and I hope that you bear with me in those instances. Yes, Pops. The chief recruiter for ACDP now at ARA. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much to our first person that brought up the question. Yes, you didn't hear much from me because I was just talking about myself. And the reason is because I've sat there for 20 plus years and listened to all the people that used to be here. And I share exactly how you feel right there now. And I deliberately did that because I wanted to know what questions you would ask me and how I would answer them. So with regards to ARA, our safety is about protecting our South African citizens. Violence and crime endanger our communities and undermine our safety. We are taking a tough stand against criminal elements, ensuring that South Africa's streets are safe for all citizens and implementing policies that put the safety and security of our people first. Our leader, Jerome Swart, was part and parcel of the recent taxi violence event that happened in Cape Town, where he was the only leader from all the political parties that went and sat with Santiago and brought about peace and reconciliation amongst the people and brought that violent situation down to null and void. And therefore now Santiago works with us in ensuring that there will be no more taxi violence and ensuring that there will always be something where the crime element with regards to taxis are no longer implemented in Cape Town. And that there, we were to now also work in all the provinces because ARA is a national party. We may be new to a lot of people, but the people that are in ARA are ordinary citizens. They're not politicians, but they are aspiring citizens to bring about change in South Africa. And we want to make a difference because we listen to the people on the ground. And with regards to the healthcare, our manifesto states that putting South Africa's healthcare first, our healthcare system is the backbone of our nation's health. We strengthen our healthcare infrastructure, increasing the number of healthcare professionals, and ensuring that every South African has access to quality healthcare when they need it most. Now, the most important thing on our manifesto, and you can all see this is our money manifesto. This is a pamphlet that we're sending out. Our manifesto launch is on the 27th of April in Durban. It's happening in every province. All 9 provinces are having a manifesto launch. Please see social media for the dates. But 27th April, you're most welcome to come to our manifesto launch where our leader will unpack most of what I'm just sharing here. So in terms of our election campaigning, we are going all out for jobs, jobs, jobs. Because even in the healthcare situation, crime and safety, if the people that are involved in all of these facilities offering the service, it's all service care. If they are not empowered properly in terms of proper jobs, proper salaries, and ensuring that they are recognized for what they're doing, how are they then going to give us what we want as citizens? So for us in healthcare, how many of our doctors are leaving South Africa because they get trained and then they go away and the healthcare system is failing because the doctors are not paid well? So ARA is going to change that. We want people to be given a salary based on what they are doing in terms of how their professionalism is being carried out, and also KPIs, key point indicators, key performance indicators. Are they performing well in their jobs? Are they doing what is required of them and earning the salary that is deserving of them? That there then will ensure in our healthcare systems, nurses are taken not for granted. Nurses are recognized for the jobs that they do. That 12-hour shift, then they go home, they are looking forward to come the next day to take care and nurture our patients and our people that come there. The second thing, the administration staffs, to find ways, not just go to work, earn a salary, go home, but to come to work and find ways and say and see our elderly coming there 4 o'clock in the morning, sitting in the hospital beds, benches, just to be seen by a doctor about 10, 11 o'clock. We want our citizens to find the way and say, yes, I'm coming to hospital today. This is what I'm seeing. Can we now find the solution to resolve these issues? Can we help our people? Instead of just saying, yes, politics, it's all politics, politics, politics. What is government doing about this? Government, I'm telling you now, can do that much. We establish the government and we then cry and sit back and fight at the TV when they are doing nothing. So right here, we as ARA, we said we want to be part and parcel of this change. And we want to be part and parcel of making sure that the people and our citizens are given what they promise, what they are asking for. And that's why I will keep repeating this. ARA is about SA first.
Okay.
SA first because our legion solely is with South Africa and its people. We prioritize the interest and well-being of our nation above all else.
Okay, I'm gonna.
You're gonna direct
Yeah,
me.
I'm
Perfect.
here now. So when you say SA first, and I wasn't gonna start with that, but because this is where we are now, what does that mean in terms of service provision for people who might be migrants, first, could be Zimbabwean, or have a refugee status, etc. What do you mean when you say SA first, as it pertains to your manifesto?
Okay, when we say SA first, so Africa Restoration Alliance, we are Africa, the whole of Africa.
Okay.
So it's not just South Africa. So it's bringing restoration in the entire of Africa, and that's our goal. SA first, start with South Africa first, because this is our home country. This is where we are, and we want to help our citizens here first.
Yeah.
And yes, in terms of foreigners and people that are here, if our infrastructure is correct, our infrastructure is right, and the people that are in flowing within all of these infrastructures, whoever is here, they will benefit because they are in South Africa.
Okay.
And we should be proud to say we can take care of anyone from any of the world in terms of good quality healthcare.
100%. So I'm not grading you when I say 100%. I'm just saying thank you for the response. I apologize. In relation to the ARA itself, it was started by the former chairperson. You have fit of former member of the ACDP, high-ranking individual. Yourself, province, you have history in the ACDP. There's a large complacency in this country around new political parties. And so how do you justify ARA's existence vis-a-vis the new political parties that are coming into the space, especially as someone who has occupied political leadership in other political parties, but in the formation of ARA, it would appear, you know how you have breakaways from the ANC? It seems as though it's a breakaway from the ACDP. How do you justify your existence in the space where political parties are contesting and are saying they're bringing a new vision into the space?
Thank you, Brian, for that question. Yes, well, ARA is a political party that started in 2020, and we were registered with the IEC in December 2020, and we contested the first elections in 2021, where we've got two council seats in Western Cape. And this is our first national provincial elections, which we are contesting in all 9 provinces. And I must please give me the opportunity to correct what was happening in the media, where the IEC had made a mistake and didn't publish our lists. And we have resolved that, and I think we are all good to go. We were good to go on the 8th of March, and I think it was just an internal IEC issue, and which we had resolved. So a lot of people were asking us, are you in? What happened? So yes, we're definitely in. We were in from the 8th of March on the cutoff date. So coming to answer your question, yes, our leader is Dr. Jerome Smart, the former NEC chairman of ACDP, and I was the former Provincial Secretary General and Federal Council of Secretaries for ACDP. We resigned based on a lot of number of issues, but some of it personal, some of it in principle. So why did we start, a political party? Again, it's because we've been there where you are, and we want to make a change. And with ACDP, it's yes, they very good. I've been from there from the inceptions, and I can tell you very much they also have excellent policies, which just needs to be implemented. However, there's a ceiling. And so we found that as Christians, we just cannot be part and parcel of government if we're only going to be pertaining to the Christians. South Africa is made up of diverse people, and therefore ARA is the only confederal party. And we chose to become the confederal party and not a federal party is because we do not see South Africa as just the 4 race groups, Indian, blacks, coloreds, whites. We are a South Africa of diverse people based on ethnicity and tribes. And we want to include all of that, include everyone, because the culture of South Africa is so beautiful. And it's made up of so many diverse people. Amongst our Indians, there's Hindi speaking, Muslim speaking, Urdu speaking, Tamil, Telugus. That's
Vanakkam,
different.
vanakkam.
In the African context,
Yeah.
there's so many different tribes as well, and each one with a uniqueness that comes out to make us this beautiful country that we have. And by losing ourselves, I mean, even under whites, you have Afrikaners, you have
English.
English-speaking people, also different cultures there. And so we want to create, and I think in many DDP forums, we've been talking about this identity. You know, how do we call ourselves South Africans? We still fill forms where we have to say Indian, colored, black. I actually delete that and I write South African. I've been doing it since 1994. No one from Home Affairs ever contacted me to say, really, what are you? So that's my little protest that I've been doing since 1984, because I seriously want to say we are South Africans. So ARA is here to represent all of these nations, all of our cultures, all of the different tribes of South Africa. And that's why we felt that we needed a unique party. We couldn't fall under a banner of just one religion, because we are a country of major religions, and we want to, if you want to govern, you have to be able to govern across
all,
the board
yeah.
to all people.
Thank you very
And
much,
be
Pops.
meaningful to all people.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Pops.
Thank you.
I'm going to go now to Mrs. Eloise Briggerman. Mr. Briggerman would be very unhappy with me if I called you Miss. So your response to some of the questions and some of the reflections from Dr. Mtimka.
Thank you very much. So to answer the first question, that it sounds like we're all singing the same tune. And to be honest, I think it is true to a certain degree, because we are all South African citizens that have had enough. Really, we are tired of watching our beautiful country fall apart before our eyes, and we are not waiting for someone else to come and save us. We need to step up to the plate and start rebuilding our own country. So I think to a certain degree, yes, we are all singing the same tune. We've had enough. And saying that, it really does boil down to the people. We need to get rid of corruption. We need to get rid of Eskom itself did not fall apart. It was the people managing Eskom and managing the finances that made Eskom fall apart. The reason why we are in, I don't know how many years now down the line, and when we flick the switch, it's like flipping a coin. Is it going to work? So it really does boil down to the values of the people that are stepping up to the plate. Most of the people stepping up to the plate aren't politicians. They don't need to be politicians. They're not some brothers, uncles, cousin connected via. We are normal citizens that are wanting to make a difference. We want to get our hands dirty, put the plow to the ground and start working. So to answer that question, the second question about what has BOSA been doing, we've engaged with many communities on the ground. As you can see, you see our social media and that, we have been engaging different communities across the nation, be it in Limpopo and fixing holes in the floor. We've been going into Nanda, donating water tanks. We've been into Tongaat with water. We've been engaging all different communities to see what are the critical issues and how can we be part of the solution. So we have got a crowdfunding platform where we upload certain, like we've got ECD centers that really need attention and assistance. We are also focusing on, obviously, stimulating education, looking at the general service deliveries and areas. So we have been on the ground and are still on the ground and implementing strategies, assisting. We've donated inverters to schools because schools don't even have electricity. So we have really been hands-on. We'd love to be more hands-on, but obviously we are a growing party. We're gaining momentum, and we truly do believe that we are part of the solution to be moving forward. I hope I've answered those questions. With regards to Musi being the DA, Yes, he did step aside because he felt it wasn't working for the people. His heart is for the people. It's how do we restore dignity in the person in front of us? That is the key issue in his heart.
Thank you very much, Alois. As follow-ups, no, I think, can we applaud the new, I want to say personally, having witnessed some of your campaigns, you've done some of the work. So I've seen you give water tanks, etc., etc. Do you run the risk of appearing like because you don't have the sort of incumbency, so you don't have a role in government at the moment, doing that much work without getting a vote? What's the point of voting you into power if you're already doing the work? Sometimes people can rationalize it that way. Do you, in your strategic sessions, is there a fear around those things about how much you respond without power and versus how much more you ought to be doing?
Well, considering the caliber of people that are on the ground, like myself, I've been running my own NPO for over a decade. The reason why I'm sitting in this seat right now is because there's so much you can do in an NPO level. The heart is to eradicate poverty, but handouts and trying to upskill, and that is just to a certain degree. It's when you're sitting in the policy seat and making those changes that we can see a nation change. So I think it's just an extension of what we're already doing. So it's not like we're trying to gain brownie points. We would have been doing this anyway.
Okay.
And we just want to make sure that people can see visibly that this is who we are. We've already been doing it. We are still going to carry on doing it. And we mean business.
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of the role of BOSA in a government, as it relates to the three issues around health, security, and safety, what are your proposals? I know you spoke about the NHI. The NHI is something that's currently going to be signed into law, so it can exist without BOSA. So technically, that's not necessarily a contribution that you have in the space. What are some of the propositions, policy propositions that you have? Or is it just similar to other political parties that we're seeing, just change the faces and you hope that the systems will work?
Well, we really believe in public-private sector collaboration. We really believe that incentivizing the private sector to assist with the public sector works would be a huge solution for this country. It really will pull out a lot of the corruption. It will pull out the people that aren't actually interested in the actual service delivery. Because if you're living in an area, you want it fixed. You want the water to work. So, and also it would assist with the whole job in every home manifesto, because it would be creating jobs for the private sector. So I would say that the whole public-private collaboration, even in the healthcare system, in the policing system, in service delivery, would really be a game changer for our nation.
How is the public-private partnership different from privatization?
Well, we'll obviously still have the municipalities, and we'll still have, I mean, we can't just fire everyone. So
we don't know.
Extension. It would be an extension.
Okay. And then a final but very important one from my understanding of where BOSA is headed. So initially, the party was born out of one South Africa movement. And in part of those interests was to try and propel the journey of independent candidates into various spaces. Part of the ways in which Maimane says that he's been able to get all of you into the space is people who are active and potentially might have done well as independents, but because our electoral space doesn't allow the sufficient ability for independents to shine in that space, he built one South Africa as a party, built one South Africa, yes. So how can I trust as a citizen that this party will have political legitimacy without Mmusi Maimane as a leader, when the party is registered as Build One South Africa with Mmusi Maimane at the IEC? Does it not talk about a problem of internal party democracy? Can we elect a different leader, and then is that going to propel us to now change the party's name again?
I understand your question. However, I think with regards to the kind of independence of the caliber of candidates, it really gives people accountability. Because when a community then votes for that person and endorses that person, you're accountable to the community. And if that community is not satisfied with what you are doing and your promises, they will retract you. So I believe that this system is actually a better system moving forward because it holds people accountable. So you can't just be all talk. You really have to walk the walk. Otherwise, you'll be retracted.
So in your political party, you have a recall clause. You have the ability to recall someone who's not performing, even if you've been deployed to provincial parliament. If your constituency, if your own constituency as Eloise says, we don't like Eloise anymore, they can always take you out of power.
I stand to be corrected about the clause.
Okay.
However, the only reason why I'm sitting here is because I was endorsed by hundreds of people in my community.
Okay, thank you very much. A round of applause for Eloise Briggerman from Little One, South Africa. Nomzan, imbuzo kade uyitholile at the beginning, kuthiwa, if you haven't had a manifesto launch, how can we trust that the policy propositions that you're making as an individual will find expression in the manifesto that you launch later on this year?
Thanks, Chair. Mhlampe engakusho kulo mbuzo. I will say the MK is not made up of the manifestos, but it is made up of what people want. Asilindi ukuthi sithuma abantu sithi abasebenzela ngenxa yokuthi what the manifesto says. Kodwa sithuma abantu ukuthi bawusimela njengomkhonto wesizwe ngoba yilokho esuke sikufuna ukuthi basimelele khona.
Yeah.
Then our manifesto will come from what people want from the ground, of which it's what I believe the party is doing now. We cannot rush for the manifesto and tell the people what the party is saying. Instead, the people must say something, what they want, because we believe that the people are tired now. Hence, the MK is here. They joined the MK because they are tired of what isn't abazibonayo abaphila nazo on their daily basis. So now sebefuna ushintsho and they believe ukuthi MK can come with the change.
Yeah.
So we cannot wait for the manifesto then. I think ilokho engakusho kulelo point Dano.
No, correct. So if ningayilindi manifesto, iziphi izinto esikwazi ukuzibamba eziyibophezelo eziqhamuka kunina as we go and cast our votes, votela ukuthi lo muntu mhlambe simthumile uyena ozosirepresenta noma sivotela ukuthi izinto zenza zizoshintsha. How do we hold you accountable if there's nothing that you're putting on the table technically?
Basically, we believe that our commander, Obabu Ngamalala, is having enough experience to represent us on what we need from him, as well as EMK is made up of abantu who comes from our language where we are staying. So it's not just abantu abakhambe somewhere where they don't know what our problems here on the ground. So we've sent abantu esiphila nabo who knows will represent us, but deliver food as well. Knows it the way we sent them.
Yeah. There's a question about like, so I understand people are tired and there are sometimes policy policy proposals sometimes lama policy proposals ayakwazi ukwenzeka because they are practical. How do you walk that line of adjudicating whether lento ecela umphakathi yebo bayicela ngoba bakhathele mhlawumbe ungenzeki kwezinto, but mabe zingekho practical lezo zinto nithembisa kanjani ukuthi nizozenza or noma nibatshela kanjani abantu ukuthi abame kancane kuzokwenzeka kodwa hayi manje izinto kanjalo, because awukwazi ukuthembisa into engeke izenzeke noma niyakuthembisa lokho nazi ukuthi ngeke kwenzeke when it comes to the election. So for instance, I'm talking about if sikhuluma ngomhlaba, asikwazi ukushintsha isimo somhlaba ngaphandle kokuthola 75% and above, 2/3 majority, for instance, a parliament. If that happens, nakhona kumele kube khona izinto zo referendum, so kumele kubuzwe the entire country about their feeling of inazama ukwenza izinto mhlaba ungenzeka ukuthi simaze I rule of law noma ukwenza isimo somthetho sala South Africa. lokho niyakwazi nokuxoxisana nakho namalunga enu in terms of that policy proposal noma nigqugquzela ukukhathala kwenu nokucikeka in order to be able to make certain decisions as it relates to MK.
Okay, I can see that.
Hayi abame kancane uphendula mina.
Mhlawumbe ukuphendula kulokho ubaba uNcamalala ukwenze kwa-clear wakubeka ukuthi as much as kuzoba kukhona abantu abasebenza ku-government kodwa kuzobe kukhona abantu abahlukile from the people who work ku-government who will be supervising all the processes ukuthi abantu bayathola yini lento abayifuniye noma labantu abasuke besephalamende so bayakwazi ukumelela izinto abathunywe zona or akwengithi abasebenza ku-government so ke iyona ndlela ekuzobe kubhalanswa ngayo izinto leyo ukuthi there will be i-supervision noma i-accountability not ukuthi uvele wenze nje the way you,
Yeah, no, ngiyakuzwa leta. My reading of things is that you seem to say we're relying quite significantly on Jacob Zuma's experience in presidency, and part of that reliance is saying he's leading in some respects in terms of the policy direction that the party is going in. You do engage a lot with communities and you listen to what communities are saying. Ultimately, Jacob Zuma will help us in crafting the way forward for those communities and those things. Colleagues, so is that angazi noma ngizama ukukhetha ukuthi ngibeka kahle mama babingisho kanjalo ngenzela laba yabo for language purposes as well when I summarize that way.
Futhi ngisho kanje ngithi remember ngikuvezile ukuthi MK is made up of abantu on the ground.
Yes.
So wherever la ihlangana khona kuhlangana abantu bomphakathi okusho ukuthi MK is made up of umphakathi. Ithina esihlalayo sidiscuss up until size sithola abantu abuyibona abasirepresenta ey'ntweni ey'thile up until up so bese ngisho ukuthi ngaleyo ndlela kulula ukuthi into evela phezulu iphinde futhi as well ifike kuthina siphansi sazi ukuthi okay lokhu besikwenza lokhu bekumi kanje so akusenzekanga ke ngaleyo ndlela ngoba we are all together here down on the ground discussing izinto.
So a lot of the policy discussions also happen quite significantly at grassroots. When they direct it to the top, they also have the ability to check about whether it's santumayona nokwenza kweni basically. Yeah, interesting. Sis Kani, and then there's a hand here. Is there another hand? Yes, those three hands, please. I'll give you a mic now. All right. Hey, tough.
Bingelele. Igama lami nguKhanyisile Sibani Samantunga waKhumalo from Satisfied FM. Umbuzo wami ngicela ukuqondisa lapha kumkhonto wesizwe ubaba lapha ngasekugcineni. Masithi mengithi ngiyabuka ngehlo lami most yabantu abashiftile baya ku-MK abantu abebe kwi-ANC. Lokho kukutshela ukuthini na? Ubuqhetha nobuqhophololo obenzeka kwi-ANC bazomigrate labeya nganabo ngala. And ngokuthola kwami ke njengenye intatheli esimkantshubo mviyala eThekwini ukuthi abanye abakwi-ANC balinde ukuthi kudlula ama-election bamuve nekhundla zabo baye ku-MK. Okucaca ngokusobala ukuthi mhlawumbe balandela uNcamalala isiqu sakhe. And okunye futhi ubaba uNcamalala uphathile guys kawu2 mangaphazama. Uma azoyenza bese engaphansi kwebheji le-MK noma mhlambe ngabe ngiyezwa kancane nakhona kude if bathi uzoma bamletha ngoba uzokwenza ama-correction ezinto angazenzanga kahle ngoba khumbulani kwayena ubaba uJacob Zuma akazange azaba perfect kulokho hola kwakhe for lama terms akhe awu2 angawaqedanga. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga. No, we hear you. Angazi noma uyitholile imibuzo bafo. Yeah, we told it. There's another question, please. Ngiyaxolisa ukusebenzisa ngicela mic. Oh, ila mic. Hayi umdakana. Indaba manje. Hawu, sikhatha nebhizi. Sorry. So before I move on, for us colleagues who went to school in Phoenix and other areas, essentially she was saying part of what she's observing about the MK is a lot of the people that are in the MK have migrated from the ANC. And some of the people who have not are doing so because they're biding their time. When the elections are done, a lot of the positions who hold people who hold positions in the ANC will also migrate to the MK for whatever reasons. Are we able to trust that the membership is really grassroots orientated or not? And ultimately then, Jacob Zuma is seen as the leader of MK. He's led already in government for 2 terms. And beyond that, I can even say he's led the country because he was deputy president for close to 2 terms. I think it's for the 2nd term, but so it's important to be able to underline that he had an opportunity to lead. What is going to be different about his leadership this time around? Why are we so reliant on his vision for South Africa when he had the opportunity to do so? A local translation for purposes. Yes, Reverend.
Thanks very much. It's Reverend Matthias from Africa Diaspora Pastors Forum. I have 2 questions. One is for Era and Bosa. The first one is, I don't buy your South African first concept, because what will you tell people who say that you're jumping on a concept of some groups that are radical groups who use this word to do much of the things that they are doing? Because when you include Africa, the well-being of all Africa, we know what ANC is doing in Africa. We know what the EFF plan to do in Africa. What do you have to do? What do you have in the process when it comes to Africa? When you say that you start with South African first, but you're going for all Africa, but you don't mention anything that you intend to do for Africa. That is my first question. Second one is for Bosa. We know where ANC stand up when it comes to the land issue. We know where EFF stand on the land issue. As with Muslim, where do you stand on the land issue, especially expropriation without compensation? Thanks.
Thank you, Reverend. Very revolutionary things you're saying there as a Reverend. Interesting.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions, but some I will reserve.
Thank you, Lita.
Yeah. But just to remind the House that, you know, as a doctor was speaking here, he put emphasis on what is happening currently, like that the people parties are people are giving, you know, like individuals like as trump card for what they are campaigning about, but not giving us tangible things that that they are going to do. But just my one question, especially on security issues, we are experiencing a lot of the mafias, construction mafias coming up with the kingpins and the drug lords. I haven't heard any of the statement of commitment in terms of what it is, what it is that you are going to do, maybe as parties. So it is to all of you. Also in the interest of time, let me just stop there. But there's construction mafias, the drug lords, and all of that, such that we have even some of the voting stations whereby we're not even sure whether election will take place on those areas, because there is fear of the drug lords that have occupied those kind of areas. Thank you.
Yeah, especially with the construction mafias in this province, and its impact on the economy, for instance. Askalin MK, we'll go from the MK, then we'll do ARA, then BOSA, then ACDP. With BOSA and ACDP, please also remember to respond to this question about construction mafias and what it is that you have. You are also utilizing this as your final statements, so I'll give you about 4 minutes each to respond. And without interjecting, I want to interrupt you, I promise. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Chair.
Sure.
Mhlambe umbuzo enguwutholile uvela kusisi lapha ukuthi most of the people who moved, who joined the MK moved from the ANC to MK. I'm not too sure about that statement, but remember, I don't want to speak on behalf of the ANC here. This is about the MK. But remember, the ANC is the majority party. That means it's having a lot of people. I mean, more people in the ANC, you know. So it's possible that again, nabantu abazojoyina i-MK nabazojoyina elinye iqembu nelinye ngoba i-ANC nabantu abaningi vele bazobe bephuma kwi-ANC yabo ngoba iyona inabantu abaningi yabo. Kodwa-ke angisho ukuthi that is kuyiqiniso ukuthi abantu abajoyina i-MK abantu abasuka kwi-ANC, yes basuka kuyo ngoba inabantu abaningi, kodwa kunabantu aba-neutral who joined i-MK, nabantu abaqhamuke from other political parties who joined the MK ngoba bene-mandate ethile ukuthi kunezinto ey'thile ababona ukuthi once they lose this time to mhlambe salahlekelwa ukuthi sithumele uBaba uZuma le kunezinto ezithile esingasikakwazi ukuyishintsha forever. So-ke lokho akukho malana ukuthi usuka kuliphi i-political party yabona. So-ke I don't believe really ukuthi kukhona kakhulu abantu esingathi abantu abasuka ku-ANC kuzothi mhlawumbe no, I don't believe on that. So this time sinayo hope ukuthi uBaba uMsholozi uthunywe yithi akathunywe laba ababemthumile ekuqaleni. So-ke we are very hopeful ukuthi uphinde wesibili eParliament akuzokwenza ukuthi mhlawumbe simjaje ngokuthi ipasi yakhe ithini ngoba ngaleso sikhathi wayengathunyiwe yithi, uthunywe yithi manje kumele umkhonto wesizwe yabona.
Mshele bafu, mshele. Yeah. Mnumzane uthini-ke nge-construction mafia in particular ekhona la KZN ukuthi ba-prevente ama-infrastructure programs in the way that they have and other areas ezidila nama-gangs adila ney'dakamizwa, for instance. What is your proposition in relation to dealing with those things?
No, indaba yama-construction mafia ifika manje, ngiyithola manje, so-ke akulula engakuthola as much as ngazi ngoba mina ngingasho ngithi ngisebenza in construction ngoba I am qualified as a civil engineer. So I work on daily basis in construction, so I'm aware ngento usisi ayishoyo. Kodwa-ke for now ngeke ngikwazi ukumtshela ukuthi ngiphumela obala ngithi nayo indlela engadilwa nayo nani. So I'm aware of that, but
as a party, the MK is aware of those things, but it's difficult to come up with a position right now, considering that Nayo manifesto has not necessarily been launched. Siyabonga kakhulu Mnumzane for stepping up to the plate. I really appreciate you. I know that the invitation as a representative wasn't sent directly to you as a representative of the party, but we appreciate you stepping up as DDP, and thank you so much. Ara, there were questions directed to you as it pertains to if you're speaking about being South Africa first, how do you differentiate from the radical and leftist movements that have gone to the extent of undermining people's individual rights as migrants in this country? And secondly, what do you have on offer for relationships with the rest of the continent? If you're speaking about, yes, you're South Africa first, but you have an interest in the continent of Africa, what are some of the policy propositions that relate to that?
Thank you to the gentleman for that question. So yes, South Africa is part of Africa, and Africa is part of the 6 continents of this world. And I think for far too long, we grew up with a blank mindset of an undermined Africa. And yet we are such a rich and vibrant country and have so much of resources to offer Africa. You know, Zimbabwe being the breadbasket of the world at one stage, and now where we are. So this blanket mindset that people talk negative about us as Africans in our continent needs to be changed. And that's why I said when we decided to start Africa Restoration Alliance, that we must be seen as a party not just for South African politics, but politics of this world, so that we can be game changers in the various platforms internationally. And that saying, there are ideologies that we have enforced, and one of them, yes, Africa first, which is our allegiance lies solely with South Africa and its people, and we prioritize the interest and well-being of our nation above all else. Next thing, these are the policies and ideologies that we want: Africa first, South Africa first, and then throughout Africa. A radical restorative process. We advocate for a radical approach to restoring justice and equality, addressing historical injustices and systematic inequalities head-on. A wealth city concept. We envision a transformative approach to urban development, creating vibrant wealth cities that serve as hubs of prosperity and opportunities for all. To restore all natural resources, we are committed to reclaiming and persevering and preserving our nation's natural resources, ensuring sustainable management for the benefit of current and future generations. Equitable land. Land should be distributed fairly and equitably among all citizens, fostering inclusive economic growth and social harmony. Build its nation's border control. We prioritize the development and empowerment of our citizens while maintaining strict border control to safeguard our sovereignty and security. And this also implements in all the countries in Africa, because Africa is unique to the world, seriously, because we have so many different countries in this large continent, and each one worried about the other. Yet, if we all work together, we are able to benefit and uplift Africa to become not just a focal point in the whole world, but become a continent of interest. Free market capitalists. We advocate for a free market capitalist system that promotes innovation, competition, and economic growth, unleashing the full potential of South Africa's and Africa's entrepreneurial spirit. Every family a house. We believe that every family deserves the security and dignity of ownership, and we are committed to ensuring access to affordable housing for all. Limited import and exports. We aim to balance trade and protect domestic industries by limiting excessive imports and promoting value-added exports. Denounce liberal racism, radicalism. We reject the divisive and destructive ideologies of liberal radicalism, advocating instead for unity, stability, and national cohesion. We propose also a national bank. We propose the establishment of a national bank to safeguard our financial sovereignty and support domestic economic development. Restore patriotism. We seek to reignite a sense of patriotism and national pride amongst all South Africans, fostering a collective commitment to the prosperity and unity for our nation.
Thank you very much. I think that's a good note to end on. Much appreciated. A round of applause for Ara and Pops Thomas, please. Bosa, what do you say about land and the construction mafias?
Thanks, Brian. Right, so land reform is a critical social, moral, and constitutional imperative. So it is imperative that we do prioritize land reform to address historical issues. That's where BOSA stands. With regards to the construction mafia, drug lords.
Sorry, I said I wouldn't. We don't know what that means. What does that mean? Do you support
Yes, we do
expropriation
support
without compensation?
Yes.
Do you support with compensation? Or are you saying, for instance, that the Constitution as it stands, does it need to be amended? Does it not need to be amended? I think, yeah.
Okay, so with regards to our stance on land expropriation without compensation, we believe that it is something that is critical and it should be addressed with regards to the historical implementation.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
All right, with regards to drug lords, construction mafias and that. So we believe that it's a multi-level implementation. We would obviously have to address it on policy level, and we would definitely need to resource our policing better in order to manage the construction mafia and the drug lords.
Thank you very much, Eloise. A round of applause for Bosa. And for the ACDP, what is your reflection on the construction mafias in KZN? I think that was a direct question to yourself. And a colleague had mentioned something. If you could please address the question around religion a bit more. One of your colleagues in the back had asked that you do that. I'm not sure what specific element, but yeah.
Okay, with religion. The ACDP is a Christian party, a political party that's built on biblical standards and morals and principles. And I believe that the Bible is not only for the Christians, but it's for the good for everybody because it teaches us to love. It teaches us things that we should not do in order for us to have a better life, not only for us, but for each other. So the Bible is a moral way of us living, especially on this earth. So for me, I think that's what the ACDP, that's what I love about the ACDP, because we stand on moral principles and biblical values so that it would be a better community, it would be a better country for everybody, because we can love each other as Christ loves us. And we could treat it, I think the golden rule in the Bible is to treat each other as you want to be treated. So that should apply not only to Christians, but to each and every person. With regards to the other question, the infrastructure, the ACDP.
Construction mafias. I think.
Sorry?
Construction mafias specifically, yeah.
The construction market.
Yeah. The mafias.
Okay. I think with me personally, I would say that tenders should not be given to who you know, but tenders should be given to the people that are better, that deserve it. So that is my point of view. And for the ACDP, according to one of our policies for our manifesto, is to employ more health inspectors to monitor small businesses trading, even in the food industry, to ensure that they operate in accordance with the food safety. So with the ACDP, what the ACDP is saying, that we're going to ensure that proper people are going to be monitoring each area, each sphere of whatever that affects us, especially when it comes to the food industry, to the land, and to all of these things that we have been robbed of. We have been robbed of because of bribery and corruption, and things that it has been awarded to people that would bribe. We're sitting in the morning earlier, and we were discussing on the table in the back, and it was, you pay somebody to employ you. And this is what's happening in the tender market with tenders. And that is why the infrastructure is so bad. That is why buildings are collapsing, bridges are collapsing, shopping malls are collapsing, because the wrong people are getting the tenders that are not even qualified to even build, to have these such buildings. I know in some of the areas that I go across, that there are homes that are built, flats that are built, that are not even passed by the inspectors, but they are built, and and people are actually occupying those flats. Now, is that even safe for our children and our people to live in? So the tenders were awarded to them because of who they knew and how much they could pay to get the tenders. And also with the ACDP, I know we spoke about earlier. We spoke about what the ACDP has been doing. When we look at the water issue, we've got the Matuba area that has no water, has had no water at all from the very beginning. The ACDP has come in there, and we have now offered a temporary solution to the water crisis that Matuba faces. So our MPL, our Honorable Mangele, has went in and he's now put in water tanks to ensure that the people have water. So the ACDP has been instrumental in a lot of things. And also the ACDP is saying, given the slow recovery of the tens of billions of rands stolen through the state capture and corruption approach, we will approach civil courts internationally to recover recover these funds, we will have special procedures that are swift and often unopposed and very effective. We see now that the recovery system of the money that has been taken is very long. So the ACDP, when we come in our manifesto, we're saying that we will come in and offer a faster solution for this to recover the funds that has been taken. Also, the ACDP is saying that we're aware that the fact that prisoners are very expensive to take care of, right?
So death penalty, yeah.
Which is true.
Cut the
We-
costs. You know?
Which is true, right?
Paying someone is less than paying for breakfast and lunch and supper. True.
You can do in South Africa, in our community, you can do a crime and you can go and live, you can go to prison and not work a day in your life, and you're well taken care of. But the ACDP is saying we're going to broaden that prison labor programs,
Yeah.
whereby prisoners will learn various skills and contribute to the cost of their living expenses in prison, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And also the ACDP is committed to implementing these policies to ensure that together we all can enjoy a safe and a healthy and a prosperous South Africa.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We will, under the leadership of any one of these cadres, be able to enjoy a prosperous South Africa. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, in the interest of time, can we give a round of applause, please? I'm going to ask one of our colleagues. I don't know if we have coupons. Suraksha will be handing out coupons for lunch. Which venue are we at? Downstairs, upstairs? She'll find out and come through and tell us quickly. But thank you so much to all of you for participating today. We hope that you gain some insight. The political parties have made and presented the case to you. And we hope that you can be able to utilize that in making your decision on the 29th of May. The diagnoses that they made, you might agree with them or disagree with them. The solutions that they offered, you might agree or disagree, but ultimately we have hope that the information that you're able to gain out of the space is going to enable you the ability to make a decision on the 29th of May. So I'm going to invite Suraksha to once again let me know whether we're upstairs or downstairs. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your participation. But I also want to give a special thank you to all of the representatives of the political parties. I appreciate you guys, genuinely. Without you, my job wouldn't be as meaningful. And so, so Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Thank you for coming through and being a part of this session. Yes, we're gonna take a group photo quickly. Paul, Mbali, myself, and Usisimbume. Yes, you guys will sit in the front and we'll take a quick group picture. Lunch is on the second floor. Sue is giving coupons, and yeah, we'll just do a quick group photo before you leave. Yeah, a quick one. Yeah. On this one first. Okay, sure. Guys, I'm gonna give my invoice. Where do I send it to?